There comes a moment in life when you realize your presence has become too easy to access. People start taking you for granted, your kindness becomes their expectation, and your effort becomes invisible. You keep showing up, proving, giving, and they stop seeing your worth. That's when you need to stop talking, stop chasing, and step back. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is disappear just long enough for people to feel what life is like without you. Let them miss your energy. Let them miss your effort. Let them miss your silence, because that's when they'll finally understand the noise you used to calm. Silence is one of the most misunderstood powers we have. People think silence means weakness, that if you don't speak, you don't have a voice. But the truth is, silence is a weapon. It's control. It's presence. When you can stay quiet in a world that constantly demands reaction, you've already won half the battle. Most people speak to prove something. Confident people don't need to. They understand that their silence can say more than any defense ever could. When someone tries to provoke you, silence keeps your power in your hands. When people gossip, accuse, or doubt you, silence becomes your shield. Not because you don't have words, but because you don't owe them an explanation. I've learned that silence is not about avoiding confrontation, it's about mastering it. You don't need to fight every fight, and you don't need to explain your every move. When you stop reacting to noise, the noise loses its power over you. People will try to read your silence. They'll question it. They'll even fear it. Because silence makes them uncomfortable. It forces them to sit with their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own behavior. And that's where your strength lives. In the discomfort your silence creates. Silence is also the space where you grow. It's where you start hearing your own voice again after the world has tried to drown it out. You learn to listen, not to respond, but to understand. You begin to see who truly respects you, because real ones don't demand constant explanation. They feel your intent even when you say nothing. The ones who doubt you when you're quiet were never with you to begin with. Your silence exposes people faster than your words ever could. There will be moments when you'll want to defend yourself, to clear your name, to prove your point. But before you do, ask yourself, who are you doing it for? Because if you're doing it to convince people who've already decided what they believe, you're wasting your energy. The people who know your heart don't need your words. The people who twist your truth won't hear them anyway. So stay quiet, stay calm, and let your results make the noise later. Your silence doesn't mean you've given up. It means you've risen above it. You've decided that your peace is worth more than someone's misunderstanding. You've chosen composure over chaos, and when you can hold your silence in the middle of criticism, rejection, or doubt, that's when you discover a deeper strength, one that doesn't need recognition, one that doesn't need to shout to be heard. Remember this: your silence doesn't erase your power. It amplifies it. It shows that you're not moved by opinions or emotions. You're moved by purpose. And when people can't read you, they can't control you. So the next time you feel the urge to react, don't. Just breathe, stay still, let them talk, let them guess, let them wonder, because in the end, your silence will echo louder than anything you could have said. Your absence is a message that speaks louder than your presence ever could. When you're always there for people, always showing up, always giving, they start to believe your energy is endless. They start assuming you'll always answer, always support, always care, because you always have. But the moment you step back, the air changes. The room feels different. The silence becomes uncomfortable. People begin to realize that what they took for granted wasn't just your time. It was your effort, your loyalty, your consistency. Your absence forces them to see the truth they ignored when you were around. It's not revenge, it's revelation. Stepping back isn't about punishment, it's about self-respect. You're not walking away because you're angry. You're walking away because you finally understood your value. You've realized that being constantly available doesn't make you more appreciated. It makes you more invisible. People start mistaking your kindness for weakness, your presence for obligation. And when you pull away, it disrupts the rhythm they built around your reliability. They start to notice how much space you filled, how much comfort your presence brought, how steady your energy was. Absence becomes the mirror that shows them what they lost. The truth is, people can only recognize the value of something once it's gone. You can tell them how much you care, how much you give, but they'll never really see it while they're standing in the warmth of it. It's only when the warmth fades that they realize how cold it feels without you. That's the power of your absence. It teaches without words. It corrects without confrontation. It reminds without resentment. Sometimes you don't need to say, "I'm done." You just stop showing up, and the silence says everything for you. When you step back, it also gives you space to breathe. It allows you to see clearly who misses you for your presence and who misses you for your service. There's a difference. Some people miss what you did for them, not who you are. That's why distance is clarity. You begin to understand who values your soul and who values your usefulness. And that's when you stop chasing, because you realize real connection doesn't need constant proximity. It needs mutual respect. Absence also refuels your strength. Being around people who don't appreciate your energy drains you quietly. It makes you question yourself, doubt your worth, shrink your light. But when you step away, you start to hear yourself again. You remember what peace feels like. You rediscover what balance means. You begin to rebuild your confidence in silence. And when you return, if you ever choose to, you come back grounded, focused, and harder to access. Let your absence speak when your presence is no longer valued. Let the quiet echo louder than your effort ever did. You don't need to remind people of your worth. Life will do it for you the moment they realize you're no longer there. And when they finally notice what's missing, don't rush back to fill the space. Let them feel it. Let them sit in it. Because that space, your absence, is the lesson they were never going to learn any other way. Energy is one of the most valuable things you own, yet most people spend it carelessly. Every conversation, every argument, every thought you give away is a transaction. You're paying in energy, and not everyone deserves a piece of it. When you start seeing your energy as currency, you begin to ask yourself, is this person worth my investment? Does this situation give me something back, or does it just take? Too often, we spend our emotional energy on things that drain us, trying to change people who don't want to grow, trying to prove ourselves to those who will never understand, trying to fix situations that were never ours to fix. And the more we give, the less we have left for ourselves. There's a certain peace that comes when you become intentional with your energy. You start protecting your presence like it has value, because it does. You realize that not everyone deserves your time, and not every opportunity deserves your effort. You can love people from a distance and still honor your peace. You can care deeply without overextending yourself. You can show kindness without being consumed. Protecting your energy doesn't make you selfish. It makes you wise, because people who truly value you won't demand constant access to your energy. They'll respect the boundaries that keep you balanced. You need to start noticing how your body and mind respond to the people around you. After spending time with them, do you feel lighter or heavier, inspired or drained, seen or used? Your body knows the truth before your mind tries to rationalize it. When someone constantly leaves you exhausted, that's your sign. It's not your job to keep showing up for people who drain the very strength you're trying to build. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot grow in a place that keeps depleting you. There will always be people who take more than they give, people who feed on your kindness, your attention, your energy, without ever replenishing it. That's why you must learn the discipline of emotional budgeting. You don't have unlimited energy, so you need to spend it where it multiplies, not where it disappears. Give it to people who inspire you, challenge you, and uplift you. Spend it on things that grow your soul, your goals, your health, your peace. Because when your energy is invested in the right places, it comes back to you tenfold. And remember, pulling your energy back isn't about revenge, it's about restoration. It's about recharging what the world has drained. It's about creating space for things that truly deserve your light. When you stop giving your energy to what doesn't serve you, you become calmer, sharper, stronger. You start to attract people and opportunities that match your frequency. You begin to live from a place of abundance instead of exhaustion. That's when everything changes. Because the moment you start treating your energy like currency, the world starts treating you like you're worth something rare. Because you are. Detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring deeply, but choosing to not let the outcome control you. It's understanding that your peace cannot depend on how others treat you, think of you, or respond to you. You can give your best, you can love sincerely, you can show up fully, and still, not everything will go your way. Detachment means accepting that without bitterness. It's choosing to release control, to not force what isn't meant for you, and to trust that what's meant to stay will stay without being chased. The hardest thing to unlearn is the need to be liked. We grow up wanting approval from parents, friends, teachers, the world. But when you start seeking validation, you hand over your power. You let someone else decide your worth. Detachment is taking that power back. It's saying, I know who I am, and I don't need you to confirm it. It's standing so firm in your truth that outside opinions stop shaking you. When you're detached, you no longer perform for acceptance. You move with authenticity. You speak your truth quietly, and you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You'll notice something freeing happens when you stop needing to be liked. You become more real. You stop people-pleasing, stop bending yourself into shapes that make others comfortable. You begin to act from strength, not fear. Detachment gives you that calm confidence that can't be faked. You walk into a room without needing to impress anyone, and ironically, that's when people start noticing you more. Because nothing is more magnetic than someone who's grounded, self-contained, and not begging for attention. Detachment also protects your emotions. When you're attached to outcomes, you suffer with every disappointment. You start tying your happiness to situations you can't control. But when you detach, you free yourself from that trap. You start saying, if it works out, great. If not, I'll still be fine. You learn to move on without closure, to keep peace even when life feels unfair. You stop clinging to what's gone, and you stop fearing what's next. You begin to live from a place of trust rather than control. And that's where true inner strength begins. People often mistake detachment for coldness, but it's the opposite. It's maturity. It's the ability to love without losing yourself, to care without collapsing, to give without expecting. You can still be warm, still be kind, still be loyal, but you no longer depend on others to complete you. You become whole on your own. Detachment teaches you that you can appreciate people and moments without needing to possess them. You can let things flow in and out of your life without breaking every time something ends. When you reach that point, you become unshakable. Not because you don't feel, but because you've learned how to rise above your emotions. You become peaceful in chaos, steady in uncertainty, confident in solitude. And that's the kind of power no one can take away, because it doesn't come from the world. It comes from within. Respect is not something you ask for. It's something people show you when they recognize your value. The moment you start begging for it, you've already handed over your power. People don't respect what's always available, what's always forgiving, what never sets boundaries. They respect what holds standards, what doesn't tolerate disrespect, what quietly walks away when it's not being valued. When someone stops appreciating you, you don't argue with them. You don't try to convince them of your worth. You simply withdraw access. You step back, you go silent, and you let your absence speak the truth your words never could. Most people think walking away means weakness. They think if you stop showing up, you've given up. But walking away is strength in its purest form. It means you've recognized that no amount of effort can earn respect from someone who doesn't value you. It's not about pride, it's about peace. You can't keep pouring into places that make you feel small or stay in spaces where your worth is constantly questioned. Withdrawing access doesn't mean you hate them. It means you love yourself enough to stop begging for the bare minimum. When you pull your energy back, something powerful happens. People start to notice. They start to feel the difference between when you were around and when you're not. They realize how much space you filled, how much effort you gave, how much steadiness you brought. They remember your reliability, your consistency, your quiet strength. And that's when the respect you couldn't force begins to grow on its own. Because absence has a way of teaching lessons presence never could. Sometimes, people can't hear your words until you stop speaking. You have to understand that not everyone is meant to have access to you forever. Access to you is a privilege, not a right. When people take that privilege for granted, it's okay to take it back. You don't owe constant availability to anyone. The more you let people overstep, the more they'll assume they're allowed to. Boundaries are not walls, they're filters. They let the right people in and keep the wrong energy out. And when someone crosses those lines again and again, you stop explaining your boundaries. You enforce them through silence and distance. It's not your job to make people treat you right. It's your job to show them how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. If you tolerate disrespect, you teach people that it's acceptable. If you keep showing up for people who don't value you, you're teaching them they can keep taking without giving back. But when you withdraw, when you stop answering, stop engaging, stop explaining, you shift the dynamic. You reclaim your control. You teach them that access to your presence must be earned, not assumed. Respect doesn't come from demand. It comes from discipline. It comes from walking away quietly when something doesn't align with your worth. You don't chase it, you embody it. You don't announce it, you live it. And when people finally realize they can no longer reach you the way they used to, that's when true respect begins. Not because you asked for it, but because you proved you no longer need it. Distance changes everything. When you stop being constantly available, people start to see you differently. It's not about playing games or pretending to be busy. It's about understanding that your time and attention are valuable. When you give too much of yourself, people stop appreciating it. Not because they're cruel, but because humans naturally take comfort for granted. They start assuming you'll always be there. But when you create distance, when you pull back and give space, people are forced to notice your absence. They remember how it felt to have you close, how your presence added something to their life. That's when respect begins to grow again. Not because you demanded it, but because your distance reminded them of your worth. Being selective with your time doesn't make you selfish. It makes you self-aware. You can't pour your energy into everything and expect people to value it equally. The more often you show up without limits, the more people start to believe your presence is easy to earn. But when you choose carefully where to show up, when to speak, when to give, you teach people that your energy is rare. Rarity breeds respect. It creates curiosity, and that curiosity becomes admiration. People respect what they can't easily have, and that includes your attention. There's power in not always answering the call, in not rushing to reply, in not always being available at every moment. It's not about ego, it's about balance. Because when you're always available for everyone, you become unavailable to yourself. Distance allows you to recharge, to observe, to see things clearly from afar. Sometimes stepping away is what helps you understand who deserves closeness and who only benefits from convenience. The more distance you create from certain people or situations, the more you can see their true intentions. Some people only value you when you're accessible. Others value you because of who you are. That difference becomes clear the moment you step back. You'll find that people often chase what they can't easily reach. It's human nature. When you stop overgiving, when you stop explaining, when you stop being everywhere all the time, people begin to crave the energy they once overlooked. They start to miss your calm, your consistency, your strength. Distance isn't about punishing others. It's about protecting your space. It allows both sides to breathe, for them to realize your impact, and for you to rediscover your own value. Sometimes you need to disappear just long enough for people to understand how much of you they had. And when you come back, if you choose to, you return from a place of clarity, not desperation. You're no longer showing up to prove your worth. You're showing up because you want to, not because you have to. That difference changes everything. Distance builds desire because it reminds people that you're not replaceable, that your energy can't be found in everyone else. The less you give, the more meaning your presence holds. And the moment you understand that, you stop chasing attention and start commanding it effortlessly. Consistency is something people rarely notice until it's gone. When you show up every day, when you check in, when you support, when you listen, it becomes normal to them. They start believing your presence is permanent, like air, something that's just there. They forget that behind your consistency is effort, that every message you sent, every time you showed up, every word you gave came from intention, not obligation. But the day you stop, the silence hits differently. The space you leave behind becomes louder than anything you ever said. That's when people begin to feel the gap. They realize it wasn't your words they depended on. It was your presence. You don't realize how much you give until you stop giving. You don't see how much you held things together until you let go. Your consistency made others feel safe. It gave rhythm to relationships. It made people comfortable. But comfort can turn into complacency. People stop appreciating what they assume will always be there. That's why sometimes you have to step back, not to teach a lesson, but to allow awareness. Your absence becomes a mirror for others to see what they once overlooked. They start to replay moments in their head, the conversations they took lightly, the time they didn't respond, the effort they didn't match. That quiet reflection is the power of the gap. When you remove yourself, it's not about punishment. It's about peace and perspective. You start to see who reaches out when you're not the one initiating, who still checks on you when you're no longer the first to ask, who values your presence enough to feel your absence. The gap exposes truth. Some will feel it and return with gratitude. Others will move on, proving that they were never really attached to you. They were attached to what you provided. Either way, you win, because distance reveals sincerity. There's a certain dignity in letting people miss you. You're not begging to be seen anymore. You're letting the silence speak for itself. When people feel the absence of your energy, it forces them to reflect on how they treated you, the kindness they ignored, the effort they dismissed, the loyalty they assumed. Sometimes your absence brings more awareness than your presence ever could. Because when something constant disappears, the void it leaves is undeniable. And while they're learning that, you're healing. You're rediscovering what it means to give without losing yourself. You begin to understand that your consistency has value only when it's mutual, when it's reciprocated. You no longer chase acknowledgement. You embody self-respect. And once you reach that point, you stop needing people to notice your worth. You start living in a way that no longer requires validation. So let them feel the gap. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them realize that your consistency was never guaranteed. It was a gift. Because the truth is, people don't miss what you said. They miss the way you made them feel. And once they've felt the weight of your absence, they'll never mistake your presence for something ordinary again. Protecting your peace is one of the hardest things you'll ever learn to do, because it often means disappointing others. It means saying no when you used to say yes. It means walking away from people you care about because the connection has become unhealthy. It means understanding that not every battle deserves your energy, not every argument deserves a response, and not every situation deserves your presence. Protecting your peace requires maturity, the kind that doesn't come from age, but from experience. It's what you learn after being drained too many times, after giving too much of yourself to things that gave nothing back. There's a version of you that used to fight for everything, for people to understand you, for situations to change, for closure that never came. You believed that if you just tried harder, gave more, explained better, things would finally make sense. But peace doesn't live in control. It lives in surrender. It's found in accepting that not everything can be fixed, that not everyone will understand, and that not every ending is meant to be explained. Sometimes peace means letting it be, even when it's unfair, even when it hurts. You stop needing to win and you start needing to breathe. When you begin to protect your peace, people will notice the difference. Some will call you distant. Others will say you've changed. They'll misunderstand your calm as coldness because they're used to your chaos. But the truth is, you're not colder, you're clearer. You're no longer willing to be emotionally available to anyone who thrives on drama, conflict, or negativity. You've outgrown the need to argue, to prove, to convince. You've reached the point where your silence isn't a lack of emotion, it's a presence of peace. Peace also teaches you how to detach from outcomes. You stop trying to control how things unfold and start trusting that what's meant for you will align naturally. You no longer chase closure from people who left chaos behind. You stop seeking revenge on people who wronged you. You stop overthinking every moment that didn't go your way. Instead, you shift your focus inward. You create your peace, you nurture it, you protect it from anything that threatens to disrupt it. Because once you've tasted genuine peace, you'll do anything to keep it. And the most powerful part of protecting your peace is realizing that it doesn't require an announcement. You don't need to post about it, explain it, or justify it. You simply live it. You remove yourself from environments that drain you, you distance yourself from conversations that darken your mind, and you say no to anything that doesn't feel right for your soul. You learn that protecting your peace is not selfish, it's survival. It's you choosing your sanity over their comfort, your dignity over their opinion, your calm over their chaos. At some point, you understand that peace is not found, it's built. It's built through boundaries, through silence, through letting go. And once you have it, you'll never trade it again. Because the moment you choose peace over everything else, you stop reacting to the world and start mastering it. Walking away is not weakness, it's strength disguised as silence. It's the moment you finally decide that peace is more important than proving your point. Most people stay where they are mistreated because they fear what comes after leaving. The emptiness, the loneliness, the uncertainty. But walking away means trusting that your worth doesn't depend on who recognizes it. You stop begging people to see your value and start standing firm in it, even if no one claps for you. It's the quiet power of knowing you don't need validation to keep moving forward. You're done explaining, done convincing, done shrinking yourself to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. When you walk away, you will feel the pull, that temptation to turn around, to see if they noticed, to wonder if they care now that you're gone. Don't. Every time you look back, you hand a piece of your power away. Walking away like you mean it means you walk in faith, not fear. You trust that you are choosing something better for yourself, even if it's not clear yet. You trust that what you left behind no longer aligns with who you're becoming. You stop asking, "What if they change?" and start asking, "What if I do?" Because you will. Walking away doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes your voice shakes, your heart breaks, and your hands tremble as you close the door. But that's okay. Strength isn't the absence of emotion. It's the ability to move despite it. You can love people deeply and still choose to leave when staying costs you your peace. You can be loyal and still realize that loyalty has limits when it's not returned. You can be kind and still decide you've had enough. Walking away doesn't erase your compassion. It redefines where you place it. You owe it to yourself to stop waiting for people to change just so you can stay. You owe it to your future to stop letting fear of being alone keep you stuck where you no longer belong. The truth is, walking away is an act of self-respect. It's saying, I deserve better than this confusion, better than this inconsistency, better than this half-effort. And when you finally mean it, when you walk away without anger, without revenge, without needing them to understand, that's when you step into real power. The world has a strange way of testing your resolve. Once you leave, people might come back. They'll try to pull you in again with promises, with apologies, with familiarity. But this time, you know better. You've learned that peace is not negotiable, that walking away is not about distance. It's about direction. You're not running from something. You're walking toward yourself. And when you reach that point, you realize you don't need closure. You don't need validation. You don't even need to be remembered. Because the moment you walk away like you mean it, you've already won, not against them, but for yourself. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness comes from missing what's gone, but solitude is what teaches you who you are without it. When you step away from people or situations that no longer align with your peace, you will feel that emptiness at first. You'll reach for your phone out of habit. You'll scroll through old messages. You'll think about what could have been said differently. But that space, that quiet, is where growth begins. Solitude forces you to face yourself, your patterns, your pain, your truth. It strips away distraction so you can finally see what's been holding you back. And in that stillness, you start to rebuild. When you're alone, you start hearing your own voice again, the one that got lost trying to please everyone else. You start making decisions from clarity instead of emotion. You realize how often you used to settle just to avoid feeling lonely. But peace is better than company that costs you your self-worth. There's strength in learning how to be alone without feeling empty. When you reach that place, you stop going back to what broke you just because it's familiar. You stop confusing comfort with love. You stop mistaking attachment for connection. Growth in solitude teaches you what you truly deserve. It shows you that you were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong people. It teaches you patience, discipline, and emotional independence. You start doing things for yourself, not to prove a point, not to be seen, but because you finally know you're worth the effort. You start to feel lighter. You start to breathe easier. You stop checking if they noticed your silence because your peace matters more than their attention. That's when you begin to understand that missing someone doesn't mean you belong with them. It simply means there was a lesson there, one you've already learned. When people finally realize what they lost, they might try to come back. They'll remember your consistency, your loyalty, your calm. But you must be wise enough to know that missing you doesn't always mean they've changed. Sometimes they just miss what you gave them. Don't return out of loneliness. Don't go back just because it feels safe. Go back only if it's right, if the energy matches, if the effort is equal, if both sides have grown. Otherwise, all you'll find is the same story with new promises. The time you spend in solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. It's where you heal, where you learn, where you evolve. You become someone who no longer begs to be seen, who no longer settles for less than mutual respect. And when you finally decide to return, to love, to connection, to the world, you do it from strength, not from need. You walk back not because you're lonely, but because you're ready. Because now you know that your worth doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself first.